What's good? What's good, everybody? It's your boy J School's Phantom, this motherfucker, and your boy not sick no more. Your boy back at the top level of his energy. Your boy good to go. Okay, so we good to go, homie. Right now, man, we're talking about. Maybe new to this channel, you might have been watching for a while. I don't know. But right now, man, we're talking about why people miss you when you're gone. Right? I'm basically talking about imbalanced relating dynamics because a lot of the times, like, people have an imbalance within their mind, within their life from their childhood. It creates an imbalance in their mind, so they end up creating behaviors that put them in all these imbalanced relating dynamics with people, places, and things. And I'll get to what I mean by that, but just for a brief summary, imbalanced relating dynamics, what I mean by that is a lot of the times a person might go through some experiences realizing that, okay, damn, I'm looking for love, I'm looking for appreciation, I'm looking for validation from an external source, while really they should be validating themselves, right? And then another party might be in some type of relating dynamic, and they might be the person that's acting like the narcissist, kind of like being too overly controlling, trying to have too much power in the relationship and stuff like that, right? And this is why we're going to talk about imbalanced relating dynamics. 'Cause a lot of the times, like, we go through these experiences just so we can learn about ourselves, and then we can just sit back and correct these things that we need to correct about ourselves and things of that nature, right? So, without further ado, we're going to get right into this, man. So basically, right, and here's the thing, right? So people are going to miss you when you're gone, but just understand it's human nature, and you're just supposed to move on once you correct the error inside of you. Because once you correct the error, once you correct that false computation, and you have a more holistic way of looking at reality, so you have a better holistic way of looking at yourself, then it might be time for you to leave certain friends, not out of like hate or not out of like any anger, not out of any beef or anything like that. It's just about you as a person. You're ready to evolve and you're ready to spiritually grow because you self-reflected and did the work, because now you're ready to move on. That's what this is about, basically, right? So when you're around people, right, you naturally are fulfilling a space, basically the people around you, right? Depending on where you are in this relating dynamic, with your time and energy. And the starting point you build that friendship or relationship on is going to be the same ending point that you leave on, right? So we started off with seeking validation and love. It's going to end with you not seeking validation and love no more. And vice versa with the other party. If it started with them seeking power and control through deception and stuff like that, once they realize that's what they in, the relationship is going to end, because the other person is still seeking validation in some way, and they might not want to put up with that no more, right? Etc., etc. Like, approval in some type of area and shit like that, right? So, an example, right? If the relationship started with the person seeking validation, and let's say that the other party enjoys them being catered to. Really, I don't want to say enjoys being catered to. It's really just an unhealthy dynamic that starts from an internal lack of fulfillment, which we're going to get into later, right? If the relationship started with the person seeking validation, and let's say the other party enjoys being catered to as far as their worldview, which is basically just a form of narcissism. Hey, it's all about me, right? And having to walk around eggshells around them so they're not emotionally triggered, right? Notice that these two people are operating in two extremes, because it shouldn't be normal for anyone to seek validation externally. You just validate yourself, because again, people will just use it to manipulate you for seeking validation. And you shouldn't be trying to have power and control over other people, because you should really have power and control over yourself, over your own desires, over your own feelings, over your own mind and shit like that, right? Validation seeking and power and control externally, both of these need to be done internally to create a heaven, not a hell. Because when you're validating yourself, you can be more in a heaven. Because when you're doing that externally, you're lost in someone else's world like this, and now you're working a 9-to-5 job for someone else's reality, pretty much, right? And for the other party, you need to take power and control of yourself from within, these desires and shit like that, like wrath, all these different vices and shit like that. And when you have power and control over yourself, you can actually start to relate much more in a much more healthier way, right? So you should validate yourself, and sometimes we do need to go through experiences to learn about ourselves and where our programming may fall short. Instead of seeking love, appreciation, validation from others, work to validate yourself. You'll create a healthier, more genuine relationship that way. The other party is probably some type of damaged narc, and if you let that relationship go far, they'll set up all types of expectations and dependencies based on that love validation seeking behavior, and it'll empower their power and control and manipulation tendencies in them, right? So really, both parties are damaged at the end of the day, and both parties have a lack of fulfillment, which I'm going to get into right now because I'm basically building the premise for it, right? So both are suffering from a lack of fulfillment from childhood, right? When they become adults, they go into extremes of seeking validation based upon the environment they grew up in, and it's synonymous, right? Growing up in an environment that geared them towards external validation, or growing up in an environment where that was done to them, so they figure out ways they can do that to others, right? Both are synonymous to each other. The starting point or root is a lack of self-awareness of an internally unfulfilled, wounded child. Because like, it's basically like my boy brother Will says, he says it's basically like having a pothole internally within your own mind and body, right? It's like just an unfulfilled space. So think about it, like if a car is driving on the road and there's a pothole on the road, the bigger the pothole, man, you probably damage your suspension, you might damage your frame, man. All types of shit can happen, man. You might have your girl on top of you, and she might jump out the window and shit like that because that goddamn pothole and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So we don't want to build no bad relationships where girls are jumping out the window because, like, we don't have ourselves together. You know what I'm saying, man? You know what I'm saying? We want to build right, real shit. So, we gotta understand, the starting point or root is a lack of awareness of an internally unfulfilled, wounded inner child. All this comes from from that being done to them. Because chances are, if your parents did that to you, they probably had that done to them, and they probably didn't even have the time to process what actually happened, depending on what type of person they are and shit like that, right? So they'll just do it to you automatically, right? But remember, the starting point is always going to be a lack of self-awareness, a lack of shadow work, a lack of a person who is internally unfulfilled, and basically a person who is a wounded inner child, basically a person who's damaged. So they create some type of narcissism, some type of entitlement, whether they're entitled for that love, value, and validation from external people, places, and things. And as long as you attract to, and that's probably going to attract you automatically, some type of narc, some type of power and controlling and manipulative person that's going to do that behavior around you, and then it's going to build a relationship of retardedness based upon a retarded starting point of two damaged people getting together, and that's never a healthy situation, you know what I'm saying? Like, you wouldn't want, I'm not saying you would or you wouldn't, but I'm just saying, like, from a biology perspective, if two people have the most fucking damaged DNA, and you bring that shit together to replicate, it's probably going to bring about more damaged situations. So when I say DNA, I just mean, like, because we create with our minds, right? And we're co-creating our reality with others as well. So if you bring a bunch of damaged people together, friends, girlfriends, boyfriends, groups, or whatever like that, to create some type of circumstance situation, what you think is going to happen? It's just going to be some type of power struggle where one person is going to be fighting to be loved, valued, appreciated, some type of validation because they feel like they're entitled to it. And the other person is going to be trying to have power, control, and manipulate the whole thing because they feel that's what they're entitled to. But both parties just feel entitled to something that they really should just go within and go ahead and give to themselves. Where it's like, it don't need to be this external shit because all this is doing is just creating a form of hell where now you physically have to put your body at work to try to put your mind on some shit that has to do with the physical world. So it's like, the person that feels entitled to love, value, and appreciation and validation from others will just create like behaviors and how to get it type shit based upon them being entitled to it. And the person who is being like a power controlling, manipulative fucking freak and shit like that, they're gonna be feeling that's what they're entitled to, and that's gonna be the circumstance situation they try to create. So really, like, we making mental illness worse than what it is. Like, a lot of the shit going on in the external world just show you how much humanity, saying humanity because I'm a part of humanity as well, how we all really lack self-awareness and actually are ignorant because we're ignoring the real problem. And the problem is something at the root cause, which is just basically, like I said, being damaged in your childhood, that creates some form of narcissism. So it starts to create some form of entitlement where, oh, I'm entitled to this now. I'm entitled to this. Like, and shit like that. Like black people, for example, they've been saying for years, like, oh yeah, 4 acres and a mule. The white man owe me this, brother. Praise Jesus. I'm not saying that they do or don't. Maybe they do. If we study history, wink, wink. But what I'm saying is, no one is ever gonna give you shit. Just understand that. Like, no one is ever gonna give nobody shit. So the less people start to seek that shit externally, and the more people start to give themselves the abilities and the power to do these things, because they already got it, they're giving their belief and their faith and imagination to the external world. And the moment you do that, you start to put yourself at hell, because now your mind is working for all types of physical shit. Like the person that has the power of controlling behavior externally is trying to figure out how they can control people, manipulate shit, blah, blah. And that puts them in hell, because the moment they can't do it, they feel unsatisfied, they feel pissed off, they feel angry because they can't get that desire, they can't get their craving. You know what I'm saying? That type of shit. And just same thing goes with the other party, Yes, basically this creates a form of narcissism, whether it's through external validation or external power-seeking behavior. The key word is going externally. The Bible says that the kingdom of heaven is within, not outside of you. Being overly invested and lost in the external world and attached is a form of hell, because let's say you can't get money. Let's say you can't get no bitches. Let's say, like, I don't know. Let's say, like, you have nobody to be your subject or be angry at or whatever like that. Some type of narcissistic king and shit like that. The moment you can't have these things, the moment these things don't go your way, you'll be in some type of hell. Because they'll be like, oh, because people attach their desires to that. But see, that's like using the root chakra. That's like using the passion, the energy for the wrong things. Because now we're attaching that energy to external people, places, and things. But that passion, desire, root chakra shit should only be attached to your purpose in life. Then you can be aggressive about the right thing. Then you can be passionate about the right thing. Then you can desire the right thing. Because ain't nothing wrong with desiring that. It's just that, when we make that shit external, it start to like wane off, because we start to like make our mind focus on some external shit, while the purpose of just you being a spirit, being a body, is just to become aware of yourself, go within yourself more, so you can create your own heaven and shit like that, and not need the external world, because that shit will just put you in hell. Now, there's nothing wrong with being in the external world. You already know, motherfucker, I love food, shit. I love me some women, shit. Now I'm saying I'm working on that one. Shit, I love me a bunch of things, and I'm saying I'm not gonna sit here and list all of them. But the point is, like, if I get attached to these things, and when I can't get these things, then it starts to become a form of hell. Where it's like, okay, a person is angry. Let's say a person can't get validation for whatever reason, or whatever like that, right? The moment you can't get that, it starts to become a form of hell. You start to get angry, frustrated. People are not validating me. Please validate me. Please love me. Or vice versa, or the other part. I can't control this person. I can't manipulate this person. Who do they think they are? I'm angry and frustrated. I'm Mr. Anger, Mr. Frustration. I'll be angry and frustrated all day. Basically, like, so you don't want to attach your chakras, your mind, to external people, places, and things, because the moment you let your mind work for these physical things, your mind starts to become heavy. Like, you don't let your spirit be light so you can fly off into the astral type shit and be open to a source, all possibilities when I give you. We start to be limited because there's so many, because whatever it is a person desire, there's a 1,000 ways to get it. But based upon that programming of externally seeking, a person might never go within to create their own way of how to go about that, down to even getting money. You know what I'm saying? All types of shit. Because your spirit is infinite. It's all about possibility. But it's just that earlier layer of programming and the firmament that we're staying under and shit like that, as far as our lack of ability to perceive reality from a different angle, therefore bringing a different solution and things of that nature. And yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say for this video. I don't think I have anything else I wanted to say. I think I touched base on all the points that I wanted to touch on. With that being said, love everybody. Make sure you like, make sure you comment on this video, and I'm gonna see y'all on motherfucking tomorrow's video. Peace out.